So I'm standing just outside the Gator Club here in Sarasota, Florida. And I feel like this is a pretty significant historical spot for film history because in this spot, if you were to come here in mid-February of 1951, you would have seen none other than legendary Hollywood director Cecil B. DeMille directing the finale ending to his epic, The Greatest Show on Earth.
One frigid New Jersey winter's day, a father took his son to a local cinema to see this very film, promising a day at the circus. This would be the first movie ever seen by a then 5-year-old Steven Spielberg. Today, we're diving deep into a film that I would argue is one of the most historically significant movies of the 20th century, how it went on to reshape American cinema forever, and what it can tell us about the existential threat facing the movies today. So, boys, girls, and children of all ages, I invite you to grab some popcorn, settle in, and let's travel back in time to the age of the circus. Hey everyone, I'm Andy the Vintage Filmmaker, and welcome to my channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and check out my merch store to grab something you like. It really does make a huge impact helping to release more videos more often. Become a channel member on YouTube or Patreon and see your name credited at the end of each video. Remember, I'm not sponsored in any way, and everything you see here is because of your generous support. So, thank you. And now, on with the show! Now, if you've never heard of it, The Greatest Show on Earth is an Academy Award-winning movie released in 1952, taking its name from the real-life Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey circus show, of which the film showcases 85 of its world-famous acts. To understand why The Greatest Show on Earth was even made, we need to first understand the crisis Hollywood faced in the early 1950s. Television was exploding into American homes. Between 1948 and 1952, TV ownership skyrocketed from less than 2% of households to over 30%. Movie attendance was plummeting. The studios were genuinely terrified. This wasn't just about competition, it was existential to the entire Hollywood system. The very idea of going to a movie theater was being challenged.
Do you seriously think that people will go out to see movies when they can sit at home and see them on television and for free?
They have cooks at home and they go out to dine.
Hollywood's response? Go bigger. Sell films based on their theatricality. Give audiences something they absolutely could not get at home on a small screen. Enter Cecil B. DeMille.
Ready? Right? Camera!
DeMille was already a film colossus by 1950, known as the King of Hollywood, a meticulously crafted self-persona created so that no one would challenge his authority on set.
Quiet, quiet!
His reign began in 1914 as a pioneer of American cinema. He was foundational to the creation of Hollywood, the establishment of Paramount Pictures, and was a founding member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. He understood spectacle better than almost anyone in Hollywood because he essentially created the Hollywood spectacle. DeMille was many things, but he was not a critical darling, and it would be said of him he made movies for the masses, or as he would say, DeMillions. But his name alone brought audiences into the theater and would be constantly referenced in American pop culture.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
He also had a lifelong fascination with the circus and considered himself to be kind of a showman in the same vein.
Greetings from Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen.
Throughout his career, he had worked closely with circus performers to realize his historical dramas, think Lions and Tigers. It was around this time in 1949 that he realized something about the post-war entertainment landscape. The circus was struggling to keep up with changing times, facing enormous financial challenges as it faded from relevance and was being considered old-fashioned. This led him to an idea. What if instead of telling a legend of old, he made a contemporary historical drama about the circus and showcased something so spectacular, so overwhelming, that it had to be seen on the big screen? This would not only serve the Hollywood industry, but also benefit the circus industry as well. DeMille spent 2 years negotiating with Ringling Brothers in order to get the rights to film with the actual circus. He advised his writers to view the 1925 German film Variety as a model for the type of story that he wanted. Documentaries were all the buzz at the time, and DeMille wanted to incorporate this approach as much as possible to give his movie more authenticity.
A split second off timing and... No, it's not make-believe. Sawdust is hard when a flyer falls from 60 feet in the air.
DeMille toured the Midwest for 2 months with the circus, collecting anecdotes, slang, and behind-the-scenes ideas. Publicity resulting from his involvement drew sellout crowds to the performances.
I know because I lived with these circus people and learned to respect them and love them.
Production began in 1951, and it was absolutely massive. DeMille assembled a cast including Charlton Heston, Betty Hutton, Gloria Graham, Cornell Wilde, Dorothy Lamour, and an almost unrecognizable James Stewart in a mysterious clown role. The film was shot in Technicolor, still an expensive and prestigious format at the time. DeMille was 70 years old, but he pushed himself and his crew relentlessly. The production traveled with the circus during their 1951 tour, filming in multiple cities. They captured the glitzy costumes, elephants, clowns, jugglers, tumblers, high-wire acts, parades of music and pageantry, and everything the circus had to offer. One of my personal favorite throwaway cameos is the surprise of seeing Bing Crosby and Bob Hope as spectators silently eating popcorn while watching Dorothy Lamour's big musical number. Bing, Bob, and Dorothy, of course, were the main traveling trio in a whole series of comedies for Paramount, known as the Road Pictures, which I happen to have grown up watching.
Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle.
To their credit, the actors actually learned their circus roles and participated in performing the acts alongside their doubles. This was saying something for the ever-charming Cornell Wilde, who had a deathly fear of heights. Watching the film, you never even know. Betty Hutton became quite proficient with the single bar. There's even Paramount newsreel footage of Hutton rehearsing 40 feet in the air, talking to DeMille, rising to her height on a camera crane, handing her an award.
Wow! The most popular actress of 1950, Miss Betty Hutton.
You mean they voted me the most popular?
Yeah, you can take a look at it, but don't fall off.
Okay, I'll hang on.
I need you for the rest of the greatest show on earth.
Oh, thank you, Mr. DeMille.
All right, boys, back and get ready for the shot. Go on, start that again. Over back.
At Sarasota, Florida, where Cecil B. DeMille's greatest show on earth is in production,
Now, Cecil B. DeMille would shoot nearly half of his film here in Sarasota, Florida, specifically here, the Ringling Brothers Winter Quarters. The Winter Quarters were located northeast of the intersection of Fruitville and Beneva Roads. For approximately 3 months, the Big Top was filled with movie equipment for the 6 weeks of actual filming.
More than 1,000 Sarasotans were paid members of the cast, extras who earned 75 cents an hour. DeMille filmed extensively here, capturing the behind-the-scenes life of the circus in its off-season home. The authenticity he wanted wasn't just about the circus on tour. It was about showing circus people as real people.
It was a cast of thousands. And notably, that's because a circus is made of thousands of performers, and grips, and electricians, and everything.
DeMille was known for being fiercely loyal to all of his cast and crew. And in the movie, DeMille puts a spotlight on the people who make the circus possible. The performers who risk their lives, yes, but also the legions of crew and everyone behind the scenes. There were over 1,400 people directly involved in the production at various points. It was organized chaos, but DeMille thrived in it.
It's crazy to think that all that happened right here.
In addition to the winter quarters, DeMille's production was given access to the 60 railroad cars of the world-famous circus train that the whole operation depended on. DeMille would incorporate this into the film's climax, which features one of the most spectacular train wrecks ever put on film.
Can't you see the lights? Stop! Angel!
To create this sequence, special effects wizard Gordon Jennings, who won an Oscar for his work, combined multiple techniques. Elaborately detailed scale model trains were meticulously filmed at high speed, while full-scale train cars were rigged onto gimbals, turning over to capture the chaos of passengers being thrown about during the crash. The sequence's impact is heightened by the editing of Anne Bowkins, drawing out the tension, dread, and horror that most films in the day would cut away from. The sequence took weeks to plan, and the result was so convincing that it fooled audiences for decades. On a Saturday in mid-February, the Sarasota camera crews went outside to film a circus parade, part of the finale of the movie where the battered and bruised characters rally together after the train wreck to keep the circus going, as the show must go on. Although the parade itself was only 2 blocks long, it featured the stars of the film. This drew a crowd estimated to be over 100,000 people that flooded downtown Sarasota. The circular route traveled twice around the block, from 1st Street to Central Avenue, Main Street, and then Orange Avenue. DeMille himself preceded the parade on a mobile camera truck.
So naturally not much is left from 1951, but you can still get a sense of the geography if you look hard enough. Behind me is Main Street, so if you had been sitting right here, you'd see somebody like Betty Hutton being pulled by an elephant and doing acrobatics and singing the theme to the movie.
So come to the circus, it's circus day today, come see.
The site for what's prominently displayed back there called Oleander's Ice Cream, that's now a restaurant called Patrick's. The Gator Club, which I alluded to earlier, that's still there and has been kind of a historic landmark.
For me, standing on that same street 75 years later, it's a reminder that cinema history isn't strictly something that happened in Hollywood somewhere by untouchable, mysterious people. It happened in real places, with real people, places you can visit and touch and walk through. The following winter, The Greatest Show on Earth premiered at the Florida Theater, now the Sarasota Opera House. Members of the audience applauded as they saw themselves, friends, and relatives in the movie that had so captured their attention the year before. The movie officially premiered nationwide in January 1952 and became a massive hit. It was the highest-grossing film of the year, earning over $36 million, equivalent to about $156 million today. It would go on to remain one of the biggest hits of the decade. Now, audiences loved it. Critics were more mixed. Now, personally, I've got to say, from a modern lens, one of the most glaring issues with the entire film is how poorly it's aged, as are a lot of films from this era. But regarding the movie as a movie, I still more or less agree with the critics. I'm sorry, you guys. There's just very little in the way of plot, and the overall runtime of the movie just drags on much too long. Now, in the film's defense, without the benefit of being shown on a big screen as intended, it doesn't feel nearly as epic. So I do recommend getting out a projector. With that said, one thing you can't deny is how it contains genuinely jaw-dropping displays of spectacle. I still recommend it as a historical curiosity, if nothing else, as it serves today as a kind of time capsule for a bygone era. That's really Gloria Graham there. with an actual elephant foot on her face. Like that's for real. That is a styrofoam elephant foot, but in the wide shot, that was, you can't fake that. That was really an elephant. I mean, at the 1953 Academy Awards, the film shocked everybody in Hollywood when it won for Best Picture, beating out High Noon and The Quiet Man, among others, which many to this day argue were better films. Historians attribute its win to the fraught political times of 1950s Hollywood, including McCarthy-era blacklisting and union disputes, making this win quite a controversy. Even DeMille was shocked by the win. By contrast, another movie from 1952 that wasn't even nominated was a little musical called Singin' in the Rain, one of my most personal favorite films of all time. Subsequently, The Greatest Show on Earth has gone on to garner a reputation as being the worst Best Picture winner in Academy history. That particular awards show was the Academy's 25th, and as it so happens, the first to ever be broadcast on television.
This is indeed a wedding of two great entertainment mediums, with motion pictures and television. And with Oscar 25 years old, it's high time he got married.
It was also notable as to the presenter who handed DeMille the Oscar for Best Picture. None other than Mary Pickford. This was, in fact, her first appearance on television.
The winner is Cecil B. DeMille.
She and DeMille, of course, shared a long history of working alongside each other, watching the industry change. And the significance was not lost on DeMille.
Oh, Mary, to take this from you means a great deal to me. You remember we were juveniles together in Velasco's Warrens of Virginia.
Pardon me while I braid my long white beard.
On behalf of the thousands that it took to make The Greatest Show on Earth, I thank you for them, for the electricians, for the circus people, for their bravery. Those people risked their lives, as did the thousands of others. I thank you for all of them, because I am only one little link.
Out of one of the most prolific bodies of work of over 70 films, this movie would be the only one directed by DeMille that won him the Best Picture Oscar. It would also turn out to be the penultimate movie of DeMille's career. For years and years, he wanted to remake his original silent era 10 Commandments in modern color and sound, but he never felt he had a Moses. Filming The Greatest Show on Earth and casting the relatively unknown Charlton Heston, he knew he'd found his Moses.
Behold his mighty hand.
In 1956, DeMille finally released his grand remake of The 10 Commandments, serving as a capstone to his long career. He passed away in 1959. Love it or hate it, The Greatest Show on Earth represented Hollywood at its most ambitious, most splashy, and, you could argue, its most determined to survive, the 1950s.
So I'm at the Florida Railroad Museum, and I heard they might actually have a little bit of circus history here. You know, it doesn't escape me that a movie that in 1952 won Best Picture for the Academy Awards was made by arguably the most epic of film directors whose name is synonymous with old Hollywood and building the Hollywood system as we know it, that his movie would go on to inspire a very young, up-and-coming filmmaker who would go on to reshape new Hollywood and redefine epic blockbusters all over again.
Now, Steven Spielberg was born in December of 1946, meaning he was just 5 years old in January of 1952, watching The Greatest Show on Earth. Imagine your first theatrical experience was a Cecil B. DeMille 2.5-hour Technicolor extravaganza. Spielberg has talked about this experience many times over the years. The train wreck sequence, in particular, left an indelible mark on him that he felt he needed to somehow recreate with his father's movie camera. That experience didn't just entertain young Spielberg, it imprinted on him.
I had to crash a whole lot of times, but the train never got hurt.
Really?
By the time Spielberg started making films in the early 1970s as a young 20-something first-time movie director, Hollywood was once again in crisis. Despite the efforts of titans like DeMille, the old studio system had all but collapsed. The industry as a whole was floundering, selling out to the biggest bidder and systematically getting bought up by industrial conglomerates. In a last-ditch effort to connect with younger audiences, studio producers took a risk and hired the film brats: Spielberg, Lucas, Coppola, Scorsese, De Palma, and many others. These were filmmakers who had grown up watching old Hollywood films and understood the grammar of cinema instinctively. But they also had a desire to reinvent it for a new generation. Spielberg's personal breakthrough came with Jaws in 1975, a film that essentially invented the modern summer tentpole blockbuster. Spielberg was often compared to DeMille for his old Hollywood craftsmanship and spectacle, fusing them with New Hollywood's more grounded, character-driven approach. During this time, he released one career-defining title after another, and in 1981, Raiders of the Lost Ark. One of the greatest films of all time, fight me. Raiders is, of course, Spielberg's love letter to the old Hollywood adventure serials he and his producing partner, George Lucas, grew up watching. Raiders is just pure cinematic joy, executed with expert craftsmanship, as was the whole classic Indiana Jones trilogy of that era. It would prove that old Hollywood magic still had a powerful place in New Hollywood. Indiana Jones is, for me and countless others, a character who quite simply changed the course of my life. VHS recordings of Sunday night movies taped off the TV were my first introduction to Spielberg's classics. But the first movie I ever saw in a theater was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, when I was about 5 years old. In the exciting opening chase scene depicting the origin of young Indy, I can't help but find it a little uncanny that Spielberg chose a circus train as the main set piece. There are more nods to The Greatest Show on Earth, like Indy using a lion tamer's whip to fend for his life. His antagonistic pursuer even resembles Charlton Heston's character, and ultimately relinquishes his fedora to a young Indy, completing his iconic look. For me, that experience of watching Indiana Jones in the theater, and of course, experiencing the phenomenal Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular at Disney's MGM Studios that I covered in a previous video, did more for me than just inspire a lifelong fascination with movies. It made me want to create that feeling for other people. It made me want to become a filmmaker and pursue a career in production. And if you're watching this, chances are, maybe some of these movies did that for you too. This is the cultural impact of cinema. It's not just passive entertainment, it's active inspiration. It's a conversation across decades of audiences. As for me, knowing that a 1952 Best Picture winning movie, a formative film that inspired Steven Spielberg, was partially made in my own backyard, that makes the whole chain of inspiration feel a little more tangible.
Makes you wonder what other Hollywood legendary history is in your backyard. Might be worth a look. I can't help but also think about the movie industry at that time competing with television and feeling a little bit worse for wear. And nowadays, it's easy to draw a comparison of, is this the twilight years of big budget Hollywood blockbusters? Are we in an era similar to the circus with movies.
The parallels between DeMille's era and our own are striking. The Greatest Show on Earth centers on the struggle to keep the circus going and how to keep seats packed, a la the same struggle of the movie business.
Times have changed.
Kids haven't.
Prices have.
We'll stay in the black. You hope.
Now, as of the recording of this video, here we are in 2026, and Hollywood faces yet another existential crisis. Quite possibly the biggest one yet.
Major shakeup could be coming to Hollywood.
Major legacy studios are being bought by hungry tech companies, giants for whom movies are just one more piece of content. These industry leaders and their shareholders couldn't care less about the movies. To the contrary, companies like Netflix are actively hostile to the concept of you leaving your home and would like nothing more than to do away with theatrical releases altogether.
What is the consumer trying to tell us?
Right.
That they'd like to watch movies at home, thank you. It's an outdated
So when
concept.
someone gets up at the Oscars and says we need to make movies for movie theaters, for the communal experience, that's just an outmoded idea.
I believe it is an outmoded idea.
Some say, get used to it. This is technological progress and it's inevitable. Some say, it's over already. Many people are genuinely worried that cinema itself might not survive. As a personal note, while making this video, I received an email from a colleague of mine that I've been working with for years. He claimed that movies, and indeed the entire production world as we know it, was doomed and no longer viable, citing AI and other fears that have been making troubling headlines.
You know, things do not look so good in the entertainment industry. The box office is down, the LA film business is shaky, people are out of work.
He said, and I quote, "My advice is for you to move on and get a job outside the filmmaking orbit." And that my desire to, do this full time should be, quote, considered a weekend hobby. And once I read that, I realized something. A lot of people in our culture, like him, have given up on the movies and the people who make them. But I haven't. I'm one of those film fanatics who loves cinema way too much to watch it die. If anything, his message of defeatism only strengthened my resolve and gave this video, and maybe my whole channel, new poignancy. He and others like him don't value movies as something worth making for a career, which frankly is the same exact criticism that has been said about the film business and filmmakers from the very beginning. But if history is any guide, every time movies are threatened, the people who care about making movies find new ways to keep it going.
Now, give me everything you've got, you people.
The same technology anxieties that disrupted traditional Hollywood didn't kill the movies. We now live in an era where technology has forever democratized filmmaking in ways DeMille and Spielberg could never have predicted. Today, anyone can be a filmmaker and potentially reach a global audience. I think in making this video, the somewhat corny discovery I had was that the real greatest show on earth is in the human imagination. And that's something no disruptive technology can ever threaten.
Golly. I thought that was the greatest show on earth.
So here's my challenge to you, and to myself, frankly. Let's be part of the creative revolution that recreates Hollywood filmmaking for all of us who remember why cinema matters. If you want to be a filmmaker, learn the new ways of doing business. Do your research, do your own marketing, find your audience, provide ways for them to support you as an artist. It's not easy, but it is possible. If you don't want to be a filmmaker, but you still want to do something to help save cinema, of course, it goes without saying, go to the movies and support your local cinema, especially if it's independently owned. Make sure you buy an overpriced popcorn too. I used to work at a theater and trust me, concessions pay the staff. But most importantly, don't stay home to stream all of your movies. The future of cinema will be written by you and by me, by all of us who still believe in the dream of Hollywood. that movies are worth making and cinema is worth saving.
Well, there you have it.
I want to say a really quick thank you to everyone who's been supporting me and helping the channel grow. We're really close to the 5,000 subscriber mark, so please, if you like what I'm doing here, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you want to save cinema and look good while doing it, head to my store and grab yourself something stylish. I'm sorry. Seriously, this is the most direct way to support me and what I'm doing here. If you'd like to see your name at the end of each video, consider becoming a channel member, either here on YouTube or on Patreon, starting at just $5 a month. Your contribution really does go a long way to sustaining me and all of us internet filmmakers as a part of the content creator economy, as we depend on your support to make everything you see here. So, thank you. Well, that's gonna do it for me. I'm Andy, the Vintage Filmmaker, and until next time, here's to seeing a little more vintage in our movies.
All right, and cue the train. Action. Oh. It's really hard to make these videos by yourself. I need a field producer or somebody to tell me, like, that was dumb what you just said. Say it again, but this time better. That was dumb. It's crazy to think. Am I having a religious experience or am I hearing music?
1945. VHS. The words are right in front of me and I still can't read.
I have to. It went under the couch. Can you still hear me? Hello? It went as far as it's possibly could. I got you. I got you. I'll never let you go again.
How close can I get? Oh, I can get real close, can't I? Hi. We're so intimate right now. Hi. My gosh.
What else can I say?